What's up everyone, my name is MarkHawk and today we're doing a quick look of the new Garmin VIRB XE. Now this is their top of the line edition. There are two versions of this. There's the VIRB-X and the VIRB XE. You can say the extra E stands for extra extreme because there's a lot more that this camera offers than compared to the VIRB-X. Now this is a successor to last year's Garmin VIRB Elite, a very underrated camera. It was actually really good, especially for its price range, and it definitely dropped in price right away. When we did our budget action camera review that actually never went up, the VIRB Elite was definitely towards the top, so I was pretty excited to get the VIRB XE. However, there is a lot to this camera. There's just a lot to cover, so we're actually going to do a full quick look, and we're going to talk about some of the pros and cons that I've gone into with this, and just some of the general things that you can expect to get out of this camera, what you might not like with this camera. But there's a lot of cool things going on with this, and the big thing is the fact that it's using a bunch of sensors and it's connecting to a bunch of other Garmin sensors to save a bunch of metadata to your file. So even when we're not recording and it's powered on, it's going to track things like your GPS location. If it's connected to any external devices, it'll record all of that data, and that way at the end of the day, when you have like 9 or 10 clips, they all connect to the same metadata file. So it's really easy to keep it all organized. Now in terms of video quality, we're going to do 1440p at 30 frames a second. That's the highest resolution we can get, and 1440p is 1920 wide, 1440 tall, so it's a 4:3 aspect ratio. We're also going to be able to do 1080p, 60 frames a second. We can do 720p at 120 frames a second, and we'll get more into the resolution and stuff like that. But again, the big thing is how this connects to sensors, and then how that the Garmin VIRB software actually allows you to display some of that data, so we can actually overlay a lot of that stuff on our footage. So we'll bust this box open first. We'll start off by taking a look at the camera here. So the body itself feels really nice. It's not some type of cheap plastic on the side. It feels like a really nice reinforced, almost metal-like material, maybe like something like a really hard plasticky fiber. It's really well designed. Let's get this little plastic thing out of here. All around, the build quality is great. So we're going to detach it from this base. What we can do is we have this sort of quick release system. So once that's open, we can take this off, put that right there, and then we have our sort of quick release plate separate. It's a really cool mounting system, but what's even better is the fact that it's compatible with a very universally adopted type of mounting method, and that's that of the GoPro mounting system. So we have this little thumb screw here. Again, top-notch build quality, feels really good, really sturdy. So you can see here we have that sort of two-prong system. So we can actually use this to attach to a number of different GoPro mounts. I just happen to have a tripod mount here, so if you wanted to mount this on any of our GoPro accessories, we're pretty much good to go, with the exception of anything that requires electronics, like maybe a gimbal. Right, so we'll just put that back together. Again, the body design is really nice, and it's really smart because we actually have an all-in-one sort of dive housing here. We have a flat lens here, so our underwater quality should be nice and sharp, with bubble lenses that will end up making your footage soft and muddy, similar to the Sony line of action cameras. Their default case can be a little blurry underwater. And then this can actually go up to 50 meters out of the box, which is way deeper than the new Hero 4 Session, which retails for the same price. Now this camera retails for $399. The Garmin VIRB X will retail for $299, and it'll be missing some resolution options, mainly differentiating it from this guy. So yeah, let's actually open this up. We can pull this little tab here outwards, and we'll actually open up this housing system. Again, this whole design feels really good. It's one of the things that I'm kind of excited with. So so right here we have our micro SD card slot here. So we'll just go ahead and insert a card. So you want those little notch pieces to be up towards the top. We'll just put that in there, and it snaps in really nice, holds together really well. This is our battery. Normally it's inside the box, but we've actually taken it out since we have been using it for a few days here. And then here, this little gray box is actually where we're going to insert our anti-fog strips that are in there later. This will actually pull out, and we'll actually have a disc, sort of like a disc tray system, where we'll plant the sort of anti-fog sort of tablet in there, and that way the case doesn't fog up on deeper dives. And then we have the lens here itself. Close this back up, it snaps in really nicely. So on the top here we have this little LCD display screen and it is incredibly sharp. It is very clear, similar to maybe an Amazon Kindle level of clarity. It's really, I can't emphasize enough how sharp this image is, and it's really bright. It's got a really good contrast. Actually, I shouldn't say bright, but it's got a really good contrast between night and day, so we can quickly see what the options are in fairly low light conditions. So if we hold down this menu button here, we'll go into our sort of video options here, and we can snap through everything really quick, and everything is laid out really well. So like, let's say I wanted to go into my video, and we actually have the ability to change some of the pro options here, and I could just go in here and switch them all one by one. But what Garmin has done is some of those important ones, once we're at the very top here, this is the one we would first start on, we can just press this up button, and we'll go into Pro Settings right away. And I come here and I can switch my ISO value, I can switch I think EV stands for exposure value, change my white balance really quick. So I can change some of those really quick, which is great because those are the ones I would probably be adjusting fairly often. But then if we just go through our video options here, we can switch between slow-mo, time-lapse that's baked into a video. We have tall mode, which is 1440 because the frame's a little taller, or we have our traditional HD video. HD video, we do in 2 resolutions. We have a variety of frame rates we can choose from between 60, 24, and I think there's a PAL mode that we can switch onto this, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll get back onto that. We have different field of view options for video, which is great. Something I wish Sony would adopt into their line of action cameras. We also have lens correction, which actually will remove some of that lens distortion if you don't like that. So we could keep the wide field of view, but then we can also remove the lens correct, or we could just take it down to a medium field of view, and again, turn on lens rectification and remove a lot of that lens distortion if you choose to get that out while you're recording. Light boost is if we're recording in a higher frame rate mode, we can just enable that, and it will drop the frame rate as we get into darker conditions. We have a built-in image stabilizer, which actually worked pretty good in our test, so if we have a lot of shakiness going on, we can just enable that, and that'll help reduce some of it. And again, we're going to zoom into the picture a little bit, so keep that in mind. Our edges might get cut off. You won't have such a wide field of view. Loop if we want to record a duration of minutes, so like let's say you're using this as a dash cam, and you don't want to keep maybe 64 gigs worth of footage, but you want to keep every 20 minutes worth of footage, and then once it fills up, you can go and individually delete older clips, or it will automatically start overwriting the older ones. That way you can save all the important ones and always worry about deleting everything later. Auto record, I'm not too sure what that does, just video output. I'm sure if we wanted to export this to another monitor, we can do that. Again, this menu here is super nice. It's super easy to go through. Photo, we can switch between a few of these time-lapse modes, burst modes, again, field of view. Field of view is weird though, because we're just really cropping down on the image, so I would really recommend just keeping it at 12 and cropping down yourself later. If you're transferring it to your phone, that's way easy. Self-timer, so if you want to set up a timer, go run over there, take a photo. If you want to put on a selfie stick, you can always set it to time-lapse. And again, we can do lens rectification, and we can date the stamp on there if we wanted to, but that's something I haven't done since a disposable camera, so I don't know why you might want to do that, but who knows. Options there, I'm not going to knock it for that. Wi-Fi, if we want to connect it to our phone, relatively easy. It'll actually give you a code, and you use the Garmin VIRB app. Adding it to the Garmin VIRB app, really easy. Nothing too complicated. Remote, if you have a sort of third-party remote or the Garmin official remote, you can use that to start and stop recording. Your Bluetooth, that's if you wanted to connect it to a lot of the Garmin accessories that are out there, it will let you. And sensors is the big one here. So we actually have it hooked up to a heart rate monitor. So when we did our helicopter ride, I was able to judge how much my heart was racing when we did some of the things we did between running to the helicopter, getting on the helicopter, banking turns. I'm able to see my heart rate all throughout that. So if you're jogging, if you're racing, you can hook it up to a variety of sensors here. Now if I press add new, you can actually start to see some of the levels of things we could add here. Like we have heart rate, we have speed, power, tempi. You can hook it up to any type of Garmin sensor, including an OBD sensor. So if you want to get your torque or how your transmission's working on your car, all of that will transmit Bluetooth-wise into this device, along with all of the sensors that are built into this, including G-force, rotation, GPS data. It's really cool, and it makes up for some of the weaknesses with this camera in some of the video quality. It's not terrible, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But it's a really cool addition, and it's kind of a clever little new thing for action cameras to record. It's a really cool option to have, so we'll explore that a little more later or in the review. But first initial impressions, I was having a blast just messing with some of that data and how easy it was. System here, we can quickly see if we want to turn the GPS on. We can change with the orientation, so we can mount it a little more to our needs. Internal microphone, external microphone, or maybe we just don't want sound. That's fine. Record lights, that's all the external lights. I think we only have two. We have one on the top here and one on the front. Would really like one on the back. Tones. The audio quality on this is a little low for your tones, which kind of sucks, but luckily we have a physical button here that we flip forward when we want to record, which is great. Like if you're an old Contour user and you like that sort of tactile feedback, you'll always know you're recording. If you're using the app, you can press the app button, or if you just want to quickly take a photo, this button here you actually just press down and it takes a photo. If you want to switch to your time-lapse mode, you just hold this down for a second and then you're in your time-lapse mode. It's really cool. I love flicking a switch forward to know I'm recording, and then if I reach it with my gloves on and I feel that it's forward, I know I've been recording the whole time, so that's great. Date and time, you can actually set all your date and time stuff through the GPS data, so it'll actually detect where you are and do all that stuff for you. Language, format, auto on or off. So if we want to basically turn it auto, if we want to auto turn the camera off after a certain period of idle time, that's great. We can reset all the settings and learn about the camera, maybe see what the firmware version is, some other little information there. It's all really cool to go through this menu. It's all really fast. We can see how full our card is, or erase it. I don't want to erase it just yet. So we'll exit that. And then we can just kind of see some of the stuff here. We can see how much space is on the card. With a 64 gig card, we were able to get 5 hours. I do believe this is one of the few action cameras that will support a 128 gig card. So we can just fill this with tons of data. You'll probably run out of batteries, or you'll find a computer long before you fill up a 128 card. With the settings this camera offers, it's nothing like 4K. But it's great to have the option to just throw in a 128 card. It's really good to not limit what cards can and can't be used. And then we have all the standard information on the bottom here. We can see if our GPS is on, that'll be flashing. It's trying to get a signal. Then I believe that's our sensors that it's trying to detect. It knows that we have some in the vicinity, and that's our Wi-Fi signal strength. I think that's connected to my phone right now, so if I wanted to quickly turn that on, here we can quickly press down on the power button and see what our various other settings are. So we have a vivid color space, we have a high sharpness, we have auto white balance, ISO 1600, exposure set to default at 0. We're not manually changing that. Speed, we're seeing some of our GPS stuff there, which is it's kind of like finicky when you're just at a standstill, but honestly, like when we were up in the air, it was working just fine for the most part. Elevation, it says it records elevation, but in my test, I couldn't get the elevation to show up. And it just shows a lot of stuff here. It's looking for the heart rate sensor. Then that would be the Bluetooth device it's connected to. Really sleek system, and again, we can just hold this power button here to turn it off. And actually, I ran into some weird issues. This is actually how we're going to charge the device. We'll actually clip a little snap-on thing here, which sucks because it's kind of a proprietary device. So when we snap on that proprietary device to charge the camera, it turns the camera on to charge it. And if we unplug that for some reason, the camera doesn't auto turn off, which is why I need to enable auto turn off, because after a minute, if it's turned on and not recording, you have that in your bag, it's going to kill the battery. But that's I only run into that problem when I have this charger turned on. This back piece here does not remove in any way, and it really only serves to help as support for clipping on that sort of power system here. Again, here we have that pulley system to open it up. Again, it feels really good. Just snaps off right there. Feels super nice. The seals are great on here. Everything great. Again, having a removable battery is sick. Having the ability to add these sort of anti-fog tablets in there, another great addition. So overall, the build quality is great. The menu UI design is top notch. All of these tactile buttons are great. The audio quality is a little low on some of the button notifications, but other than that, it's a really cool product to hold in your hand. And it feels really nice. And it's pushing camera technology in a really cool way because it's doing some nice and clever and refreshing new things in the action camera market that not a lot of other people are doing. And since it is a Garmin device, it connects to a lot of other Garmin devices using ANT Plus or Plus Ant technology. I'm not sure if it's how it's abbreviated, but I never see the dots there, so I'm just sorts plus ant or ant plus. And what that is sort of a low power system, and that's how my heart rate monitor is sending the signal to this, and it's basically seamless. Like, I'm not really powering the heart rate monitor. It has like a watch-like battery with a very slow decay. It can last years, and it literally connected to this camera with no issue in less than 15-20 seconds. I just had to put the heart rate monitor on correctly. Camera detected it, and I was good to go. It has to search for those devices, so if you are using a sort of Garmin GPS system or an OBD sensor, you have to search for those devices, but it's pulling data from that, it's recording it in these little text files, so it's not filling up your card with a ton of space, which is, again, excellent. I like this little quick release plate too. Again, it's awesome that it supports the GoPro mount. That's amazing. Oh, and before we see what's in the box, this bottom piece is actually an adhesive mount, so this can be sort of mounted on in a sort of sticky fashion. But we have some other options in here. Now again, the battery would normally be in this box, but we've taken it out and we've been using it for a while. And I do believe this wire here, this is the charge cable, actually came in a little baggy, but I've kind of put that aside. This is that sort of proprietary clip I was telling you guys about. So when we snap it on here, we have this, if you want to look at it this way, the little tongue piece here is the front, and the back is sort of the clamp, so we'll just clip it on here. Snaps on really nice. It's not going anywhere, but the fact that it's not a micro USB or a micro mini USB kind of sucks, because this cable by itself is 20 bucks, so I kind of have to have this one cable with me, and I'm probably going to buy one or two extra just in case I lose this one, or if I'm on a trip, I don't have to worry about having this one cable on that trip. I want to have multiple backups so I can keep the camera nice and charged, and there's no external battery charger on the market for this battery type just yet, so take that off. Again, the power for it turns on. If we wanted to turn this off, we'll just hold the power button here and we'll listen for that beep. It's very dim, very hard to hear. But again, we have that tactile button just to let us know we're at least recording. So put that off to the side here. We have our manuals. The manuals don't go into a ton of detail. They basically tell us how to connect all the important stuff, like the sensors and how to set up the camera, what a lot of these options do. But it's not telling me information like the bit rate of the camera. The camera does allow you to, I guess, film at a higher bit rate, but I don't know what that higher bit rate is. I think by default it's only at 1 bit rate maybe. Maybe the pro settings being enabled don't actually enable it. It just allows us to change some options. I would really like to know what that bit rate is without looking at the footage later, which is what I'm going to have to do. We have a quick guide here that actually tells us about Virb Edit and the Virb mobile app. Now apparently the apps can be used to help build and edit for you right away. You can do that on the mobile app, I believe. It'll also show you some of the G-Metrix stuff. That's what all the sensor data is picking up. You can view and control cameras on a subframe level. So if you're actually familiar with VR, you might be familiar with, even if you press the record button with the remote, some of the GoPro frames will be off, and basically you have to rely on sort of clapping really loud or snapping to sync up all of those frames. However, just from the Wi-Fi controls on the phone, I think we can control at least 3 cameras or maybe more at the same time, and it'll start all of them at the same exact time on a subframe level, so they'll be perfectly in sync. And we can also do that with some of the other third-party devices. We can mess around with adding music, adjusting individual clips, and this can all be done with both the app and the software that it comes with. Now, the software it comes with, all the gauge data and all the stuff you can mess around with it is really cool. I wasn't a huge fan of some of the technical issues I was running into with Virb Edit. It had a tendency to sometimes lock up on me. I couldn't really tell how to get to the gauge data and have it overlay, even though I had just applied it. But I really feel these are just things I have to get used to. It really shouldn't be too hard, but I was able to jump in there and just start playing around with it right away. Just some of those lockup issues were what concerned me, but for the most part, super easy. And again, having all, let's say you filmed with 11 clips in a trip, having all of that data recorded to just one file, and then your camera's recording all of that data, even when you're not recording a video. So when you link it to it, you can see the entire route you took. So when we flew around Santa Barbara, I have a full GPS map and how we were performing all throughout that trip, and it's all through one file. I don't have to sync up 11 different clips. Really cool. And you got your spiffy little sticker. Only one sticker. It's not super big, but should get you most of the way there. In this little silver pouch here, we have the little disc tray here for the anti-fog tablet. So we put the tablet on there, and then in this silver little baggie, that's where we're going to have our anti-fog tablets. So we're not going to open that just yet. And again, the battery is in the camera, otherwise it would have been in here. There's no micro SD card with this, but I am using a Lexar 633X. That's an XE formatted card, Class U3. It's one of the faster ones you can get. Super reliable, and I think they retail for around like $35 to $40. They're constantly on sale. They're great to have. Now I'll get this out of the way. Box setup's pretty nice, whatever. We have more quick release plates here. We have a few, we have a thumb screw, an Allen wrench if we have to get things really nice and tight, like we're mounting to a car, we want to be extra secure. Oh no, we do have multiple thumb screws. We have different sizes. Great. We have some adapters here that kind of might be for the Virb Elite, just so they work with some of these mounts, but I'm not 100% sure. And we have some adapters here for some more flexibility and movement. And again, all of them are using that typical GoPro prong setup, which is really great because it opens us up to use a ton more mounts than we're used to. Now, if we want to compare the Garmin VIRB XE to something like the GoPro Hero 3, this is the same size as the GoPro Hero 4. It's going to be pretty much bigger in every area, including weight and stuff like that. If we turn it to the side, clearly it comes close to being just as wide with the lens, but the Garmin VIRB is definitely just bigger all around, weighs a little more. And then if we compare it to the Hero 4 Session, which is basically in the same price range, width-wise they're about a match, but everywhere else, obviously the VIRB much bigger. For my money, the VIRB is doing some neater stuff than the Hero 4 Session, especially not having a built-in battery, and it's a much bigger comparison. But yeah, it's night and day size difference. But if we compare it to its predecessor, this is the Garmin VIRB, lent to us by Chris. Thanks, Chris. It's much bigger in all regards. The Garmin VIRB original. It's just a really bulky system. It's really heavy because it has a super beefy battery in here, maybe more than it kind of needs, which is a weird thing to say, but like it's ridiculously heavy. It's gonna weigh on your head. Mounting this in many places was kind of hard, with the exception of your side of your head. And if you put it on anything like maybe a paintball marker or I don't know, a ski pole, it's just going to weigh that item down. Now all of this is nice, but what it really comes down to is how good is the video quality. Is it even at an acceptable level? Is it amazing? We're going to check that out just in a bit, and we're also going to take a look at the Virb Edit software and just see how all the gauge is and how customizable it all is, and how quickly it is to get in and out of that software. So let's jump to that part.